Hello again, fellow teachers. Aaron Whitehead here, and I wanted to do a little video showing you some tips on how to manage your classroom on Zoom. So some classroom management tips, how to use the platform to make to just maintain control in your classroom and avoid any of those pesky interruptions and distractions. Okay, so I've got my Zoom program open here on my computer. In my video on Zoom settings, I showed you kind of the difference between running it or going to your Zoom through the website versus actually using the program. And so here I've got my program open, and I want to show you guys some things. First of all, again, I want to remind you that if you haven't done this, you're going to want to click in here and look down to make sure that you have the latest version. So I'm checking for updates. I'm up to date. If you are not up to date, some of the things I'm going to talk about here will not be applicable to you. So make sure you get the latest and most up-to-date version of the program. And here we go. I'm going to show you guys how to run a meeting and use the settings within Zoom to help control the classroom. Okay, so we're going to start a new meeting, and it's going to open up a meeting for us. This is what you've already done. If you've run a meeting on Zoom before, you are familiar with this. Getting that meeting going and being anxious about the fact that soon your students are going to be joining you on there, and are you going to be able to manage them and run the class like you hope. Okay, so here we are. Let me talk about a few things real quick, and then we'll have some students join us. Okay, some imaginary students that will join our call. So first, you want to use the settings down here in the lower left hand corner, mute and stop video, to control your own settings and what's coming from yours. So I can mute, and then it will no longer be able to pick up my voice on Zoom, so I can control the sound coming from my end. I can also turn off my video if something's going on and I don't want the students to see me. They can still hear me because my microphone's on, but I am now not being shown on the screen. Okay, you can also go here to change where the microphone's getting, or click on audio settings and see what type of features you have. You can see it's picking up my microphone there, but that's where you go to kind of go a little deeper. For example, I want to show you this. I find this to be very helpful. You go on to video, stop video. This is where students would use the virtual background setting if you have that set up. But click here, I want to show you something. You can actually, if you go down to the bottom of the screen, if your computer allows it, not all do, but mine doesn't, as you can see, you can actually set it up to be able to see 49 participants in your one gallery view screen. That's quite a few. For most of us, it's probably our whole class, okay? So if you want to turn that on, it'll allow you to see all of your participants on the screen. Now, to change that, I don't have the option here, but when I get students on the classroom up here on the right, I'm going to show you that you can be in gallery view or speaker view. So we're going to need to be in gallery view in order for that to make any difference, okay? And then I've got some settings options here. Those are going to change as students join. So let's invite some students to join us now, and I'm going to show you guys kind of how we are able to control the classroom, manage the classroom together, okay? All right, so now we've got some students that are waiting to join. You can see we've got 3 people entered the waiting room, all right? And down here, participants, that little red dot. So I'm going to show you guys kind of how this works. I use this participant button quite a bit. If I click on it, it shows me my list of participants over here. So you can see I've got 3 students waiting to join. I've got me, I've got John, and I've got Bruh. Okay? So in just a minute, I'm going to let them in. I'm not going to let them in yet. I want to first show you some of my settings that you're going to want to utilize. Okay? So the first one is down here. This is the security settings. Very important. So let's take a look. In here, I've got the ability to lock the meeting. If I kick someone out and I don't want them to come back, or I don't want anyone else to join, I can lock the meeting. Okay, that's how I would do that. The waiting room's automatically set up. I talked about that in the settings version. Sharing their screen is something that you can adjust in the settings version, but you can do on the fly here on the call. So I can allow students to either share their screen or not. I like to not, so it's not checked. I want them to be able to chat, but I'm going to show you how I want them to chat in just a moment. So I'm going to show that. It's going to be on, okay? And then renaming themselves, well, right now, I mean, some of these kids are going to have to rename themselves because I don't want me or bruh to be in the meeting necessarily. But they can't rename themselves in the waiting room, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to let them in and either rename them myself, which I'll show you how to do, or have them rename themselves. But in order for them to be able to do that, this has to be checked. Once my students are the way I want, I'm going to take that off because then I can't have them rename themselves at that point, because some students will rename themselves to send a little message to the class and say something inappropriate. So you can control that here. Same thing with muting and unmuting, okay? Automatically, the students are going to be set to be muted when they join the meeting because we put that in our settings. And if I leave this as it is right now, they can unmute themselves at any point and interrupt me, okay? We've had students come in and start throwing expletives all over the place right when they join the meeting because they unmuted themselves. Now, if I take this off, they will join. They're going to be automatically muted and they will have no ability to unmute themselves. So they cannot come in and just start shouting things into the classroom, okay? I like that feature. I want to use that feature to make sure it is a controlled environment. They cannot unmute themselves. They will still be able to, but I'll show you how in a minute, okay? So you can decide whether you want them to have that ability or not. If you need to remove a participant, this is how you would do it. If you want to report someone to Zoom, this is how you would do it, okay? I've already showed you how to do the participants, all right? You just click this and open that window. I like to leave that window open all the time. Here's the chat. If this window's not open and I do this, the whole chat shows up, that whole thing shows up as a chat. If I have the participants open, the top one shows up participants, bottom half is the chat. Okay, I'm going to talk about the chat in a minute. The sharing of your screen. So right now, the participants do not have that ability, but I as the host do. And so you can see some of my options. I've got my desktop, a whiteboard. I can connect an iPad or my phone. I can also go over here to advanced and just share a portion of my screen. This is new. Slides is a virtual background. I don't have familiarity with that, but maybe you do. You can check it out. I can share the computer sound only, or if I have a second camera, I can share that. You may remember that in my other video, if you've watched it, if you're going to have a video that you share, you want to optimize for video clip, which will also share your computer sound. Okay, that's a feature that you want to do. I want to show you this also. Let me close this real quick. If I have something I want to share, let's say I've got something that I want to set up. So here's my browser. Okay, it has to be open on the desktop in order for it to show up for me here. So now I can actually share that screen with my students. If I have it minimized in the corner, I can't share it. So if you're going, how come I can't see it? That's why. You got to have it out on your desktop. Okay, so if I close this again and I bring it out, see it's gone. So you got to make sure that it's open on your desktop in order for it to show up in the sharing. Okay, record. I taught you how to record a video on your computer. I really recommend doing that to help yourself save some time and you know, also save some of the hair on your head so you're not pulling out so much hair as you're running a meeting. Breakout rooms are great. I'll do another tutorial at some point on how to utilize those. And then you've got reactions. Students can react to the call. And then also going live on YouTube and Facebook. I'm going to make another tutorial on how to do that as well, because I think there's some real benefits to that. Okay. Notice up here I have it set in my settings, allow students to comment through this. So if they click something here, it'll show up next to their name, like that little check mark showed up next to my name there. Okay. You can also invite, mute all, and you have more opportunity here. But we'll show you these things. This is similar, you'll notice, those things to our security options down here. It's just another place and way to do it. First, let's let our students in and let's start looking at what we can do as they come in. So we're going to admit everybody. Here they come. They're now joining our meeting. You'll see their names begin to pop up here as they enter into the meeting. There's Bruh, and we also have John and Bruh and me. Okay, so there they are. They're all there. Now, here's where you can see I have two options, or I have some options up here. This speaker view just came into play. Right now I'm on gallery view. This will take me to speaker view. So this is what speaker view looks like, where it's one person who's talking is the biggest and we're all small at the top. And then switch to gallery view here. It's a little confusing because you would think, oh, I'm in speaker view because it says speaker view up there, but it's actually the opposite. This takes me into speaker view Now I'm in speaker view, and this takes me into gallery view, and now I'm in gallery view. Okay? Now, let's look up here. I want to show you guys the features of what's available to you in the participants list. You can ask a student. Remember, I have the thing they cannot unmute themselves, right? But if I come up here, I can ask them to unmute. When I click that button, a little screen pops up on their window that says the host has asked you to unmute. If they click that button, now they are unmuted. So if I see that John has a question, his hand is raised, and he's raising his hand trying to get my attention, I can send him a little thing saying, John, will you please unmute? Now, obviously, John's not there, so he's not going to be able to, but if he was, he could unmute. So I have full control now of who can mute and who can unmute, okay, who can do that. So when they're muted, they cannot unmute themselves unless I invite them to. So that's a good feature if you're trying to control the classroom. Another feature, let's look at this. If I go to more, check it out. If a kid is dancing around and going crazy on their screen, I can stop their video, okay? So if bruh is just lost his mind and he's trying to, be the center of attention and the class clown, I can stop his video. All right, I'm going to actually show you. So what happens when I do that? His video goes away and it just shows his name there, okay? Now, I cannot restart his video. It doesn't give me that option, but I can invite him to restart his video, okay? I can't actually start it, but I can invite him to do it. And I don't think he can do it unless I invite him, all right? So let's see, what are our other options? We can make him a host. Probably don't want to do that. Co-host, rename. Here's where I can actually rename, or if a student is messing around, I can put them back in the waiting room so that it's like timeout. Go wait in there and then I'll let you come back. You can also remove them from here or report them, okay? Now, I have it set up to where students are able to rename themselves, so I could say, please update your name so that it has your first and last name, and they could, or if I turn this off, now they can't do that, and so I could send them a little chat, which I'll show you in a second, and ask them to do that. Most students have trouble doing it, but they can do this the same way I'm doing it. If they have the participant list open and hover over their own name and go to more, they can rename themselves. Okay, so if I know that this is John Smith, I can update that and rename him to John Smith because I want his first and last name. Obviously, I want bruh and me to put their full names, okay? So I would invite them to rename themselves or send them a chat and ask them to, and then they would rename themselves, okay? These are real names I've seen in classrooms with doing Zoom. So you've probably seen these and maybe even worse. So we want to know how to update that, how to rename them, and so on. Let's talk about the chat now. This will be the last thing we talk about. So for the chat, I've got it open here, and right now I have has the ability to chat. That's all well and good, but the danger is right now kids can send a message out to the entire class. They can broadcast a message out for everyone to see. Now you may be totally okay with that, or you might be like me and you're like, please don't interrupt my class by blasting the chat. So here's what you can do. In this lower right hand corner, these three dots, I can change who they can chat with. No one, not even me then, the host only, or everyone publicly. Guess which one I like to use the most? Host only. Now when they see their chat, all it says to them is Aaron Whitehead privately. Okay, or I would change my name in a classroom setting to Mr. Whitehead, but that would be the only option they have. If you had a co-host on here, it would give them that option. It would say their name also in this little drop down right here, okay? But they send me a little private message. I can send them a little private message back. We can communicate privately. Not anyone can see it. I can still make announcements to the whole class. I can say, hey, welcome class, and I can send that out. They can see my broadcast to the whole class, but they can only communicate with me. I find this to be very helpful. Maybe you're okay with them chatting with everybody. It's up to you, but it's nice to have that chat feature. So I don't want it turned off, but I want them to be limited on who they can chat with. All right? So I hope this has been helpful for you guys. I'm going to minimize this real quick. I hope that you guys have enjoyed that and gotten some good tips on how you can manage your classroom a little better on Zoom. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.